welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. What do you guys think about my beard? Happy Thursday to you and yours. Could you weigh in, honestly, on my beard in the chat? I think Shemeka's in there monitoring the chat. Someone's monitoring chat. If someone says something good in the chat, Shemeka, text me. But I do want your thoughts. Email me at fearlessblazeshow@gmail. I want your thoughts on my beard. I was reading somewhere that, like, in biblical times, that the beard was a way to clearly identify yourself as a man. And I was like, man, I never thought about that. That, like, yeah, when people wore beards, there was less confusion in the world. You couldn't be a woman and claim to be a man because you couldn't grow a beard. And then I read that, you know, a beard, a good long beard, a healthy beard is a sign of wisdom. And when you're as dumb as me, you need to put on all kinds of disguises and things like that so you can appear wise. And so, you know, it's like, let me take all the confusion out. You know, I'm a man. I've lived, you know, a few years here. I should have some wisdom. So let me grow a beard. And just quite honestly, I said this over Twitter, and people think I'm half joking. You've heard me say it on the show. I want to join the Amish or the Quakers. And so I said, let me start working on a beard so that I'll fit in when I join the Amish. And so I'm trying to grow a beard. There was part of me that was a little like, hey, you know, if I grow a beard, how heavy will the beard be? Could this affect my weight when I get on the scale? Because I do owe you all the Wayne Whitlock segments, and I'm almost there. I've lost enough weight where I'm not completely embarrassed when I step on the scale in front of you all. And then I started thinking, well, man, if I got this heavy beard, what if this beard weighs a half pound or a pound? And then, so I was like, well, they'll just factor it in. You know, if I shave my beard, you know, I'll be. Anyway, I'm growing a beard, primarily so that when I join the Amish or the Quakers and I move away from all of this mayhem and chaos, you know, I'll look the part. And, you know, all of that, I got to find a wife. And that was my other fear about growing a beard. Well, if I grow this beard, it's going to be gray. Am I going to have to dye it so that when I fool some, you know, 35-year-old, 40-year-old woman into, you know, I'm not 57, I'm 40. Will this beard throw me up? But I'm just going to have to get a woman that's wise enough to know that, you know, she needs an older man in her life. So anyway, I'm growing a beard. So stick with me. How's it look? I was thinking about dyeing my hair dark to get the contrast with my gray beard and all. Let me stop. I just wanted to share that with you all. But let me stop and tell you what today's show's about. We're going to pick up a bit from where we left off yesterday. I'm going to use something else going on in the social media space to further some of the points I was making yesterday. And so I want to talk more about the so-called black culture, this very pagan culture that we've adopted. And I will use Steven Jackson, the former NBA player that's now a podcast star, a star in the media space, an important black pagan leader. He has he did an interview where he talked about visiting O-Block and checking in with O-Block. And I'm going to use that as kind of a jumping off point to talk about what's going on in the media space and the pop culture space. I'll bring Gilbert Arenas into it, the whole nine. And eventually I'll broaden it out a little bit and talk about what I call MLK ultras, these Martin Luther King impersonators. I call MLK ultras. They're controlled, they're disingenuous, they're used to lead you astray. I'll talk about that. And then eventually we'll bring in Jay Skapnik and we'll talk some NBA. Luka Dončić made, I believe, his return to the Dallas Mavericks. The Lakers played the Mavericks and Luka dropped like 45 on him last night in kind of a blowout victory. We'll talk with Jay Skap Attack about that. Michael Malone, the Denver Nuggets coach, was fired in the past 48 hours. I want to discuss that with Jay Skap Attack. Steve Kerr had some comments about that. LeBron James, he's got a Barbie doll in his image, and he thinks it's very important, and it speaks to, you know, him being a role model and all that. We'll talk about that. We'll end the show. That's where we'll end the show, actually, with Shemeka talking about LeBron James and his Barbie doll. There's something I think that you guys maybe have left out. I thought there was. Did I leave off a topic here, guys? And this before I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I thought there was something else great I wanted to talk with Skap Attack about, but maybe not. That's all the basketball news. Anyway, we'll do that with Jay Skap Attack. Before I get into unpacking this topic, I want to remind you all about Relief Factor. It's a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Their 3-week quick start is just $20. You know, in my old neighborhood, we used to call that a Twinkie. You know I love Twinkies, or I loved them back then. But we used to call a $20 bill a Twinkie. And if you can't spend a Twinkie, $20, on relieving pain, what are you doing? Think about it. You do the 3-week quick start, doesn't work, it costs you a Twinkie. But 70% of you are going to see results, and you're going to re-up and reorder, like me and all my friends. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. All right, let's get into today's topic and conversation. Make sure you're also commenting, hitting the likes and the subscribe and all that, but commenting on my beard and how it's coming in, what you think I'll look like with this beard, and will it help me fit in with the Amish or the Quakers or wherever I decide to move. Steven Jackson, the former NBA star, the co-star of the All the Smoke podcast, George Floyd's distant cousin or play cousin, or, you know, they grew up together and were friends. You guys know Steven Jackson. And you heard me yesterday talk about that in the corporate media space, in the popular culture media space, that there's only room, the sports media world, when you're black, when your skin is dark, this whole culture has moved towards you have to be a criminal or a clown or a criminal clown to have a leg up. There must be some dirt on your jacket. You must have done something to get yourself in some sort of trouble with law enforcement, some sort of trouble with domestic abuse allegations, some sort of trouble with just something that puts dirt on your name and on your jacket. Now you're more valuable in the media space and you have a leg up. It's just like sports media broadcasters, when they're black, they're just like rappers now. They need that street credibility. They need that prison culture credibility. Or you just have to be a clown. And I'll give you the great representation of just the clown deal. Cam Newton dresses up like a clown with the top hat and all the funny clothes. And then, so it's just in appearance and in, like, guy's got 4 or 5 baby mamas and promotes that type of clown. Well, the ringleader of the media space clown show, or one of them, would have to be considered Steven Jackson. And I just, in complete transparency, Steven Jackson, someone that, and this is where I somewhat defend Steven Jackson. Because Steven Jackson, in his heart, is well-intentioned. In his heart. In his head, he's just going to go where the money tells him to go. And so when they build a culture and a system that says, hey, the money says be a clown. It will make you abandon your heart and go with what your head says. That, hey, the more of a clown I am in this era, the more economic opportunities I have. And so Steven Jackson is following the money. And the pagan black culture and the pagan culture of just America as a whole tells you to follow the money, that everybody wise just follows the money. And if the money is in minstrel show for black men to be on television and to have some cushy job talking about sports or whatever on television, Steven Jackson, using his head and ignoring his heart, he's going to, I got to be a clown? And I can package up my street credibility as a member of, in good standing of a gang. And you know, I did things foolishly when I was an NBA player, but now this all has value because, hey, the media, ESPN, Fox Sports, everybody in corporate media, like, they want someone with street credibility. They want someone that, oh man, he must be best friends with rappers, and maybe he raps a little bit on the side. And so, Steven Jackson, I want to play you the context. Let's start with Steven Jackson visiting, checking in with O-Block. This happened a year or two ago, and people have been critical of Steven Jackson for this visit to O-Block. We want to start with that video just to give you the context. And then I'm going to show you how that video actually enhances Steven Jackson as a media personality. There's more opportunities. There's a bigger paycheck. People will invest in you because that's the lane. They put a little piece of cheese in a mousetrap. And so they sprinkle money in a mousetrap and says, hey, over here, here's the money. Be street credibility and clownish behavior. Come in here, there's a bunch of cheese. You know, people call cheddar. They call that money, cheese, cheddar, blah, blah, blah. They've put that in the trap, and everybody's running towards the trap. And Steven Jackson has run there, and so here he is in Chicago visiting O-Block.
Yeah, a lot of y'all be at O-Block pulling up, taking pictures. Where we at?
Tell them how they coming.
We're in the middle of it. I mean, y'all pull up and take pictures and y'all not allowed to.
They sneak.
And one thing about it, if you're a real one, you don't mind checking in.
Checking in. What'd you say?
I check in with the real one. That's why I'm in the middle of O-Block.
Where you at?
You see the hoop?
Where you at?
I'm in the middle of O-Block. Man. Listen, man.
The middle is bitch where the people's be, you know what I'm saying? Where the real people's be, man.
Shit you can't pay for.
Rap cap.
No rap cap. Shit you can't pay for. I mean, we really out here. O-Block, Chi-Town. Rest in peace, King Bone. We in the middle of O-Block, ain't we? Quit playing, man. I'm everywhere, you never there.
So that is Steven Jackson out of his own mouth checking in on O-Block. And I believe the young man next to him is a guy named Ty. You've heard Pastor Corey Brooks on this show. Pastor Corey Brooks, who has a church in the heart of O-Block, knows Ty, the guy that was next to him, to Steven Jackson. You've heard him talk about like Ty's struggles, and Ty, I think, is locked up and incarcerated right now for killing somebody. And so you're about to hear a video that Steven Jackson did an interview with somebody. Maybe his name's Mike D. I don't know. We'll play the video here in a second. But where he's explaining his checking in. And he's saying that he didn't check in. But we just heard him out of his own mouth say he did check in. But again, all of this controversy is good. It enhances. And when you understand the history of the All the Smoke podcast and Showtime and the corporate people that got behind platforming and elevating Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, to an elevated position in the sports media place, this is what is necessary for the black man to have a place in the corporate media landscape. And this isn't me sitting there saying, oh, tis, the evil white man. He's built a system that rewards this type of criminal mentality and motif and brand. But the system has built that. The people in control of Hollywood, in control of television and the entire media system, they've built a system that favors the criminal element as it relates to black people. And so here's Steven Jackson now explaining, checking in on O-Block. Let's play the clip.
I don't bother nobody. You don't never see me bother nobody getting nobody business, bro. And let's clear up the O-Block shit since we talked about that.
Yeah.
You can't find, I give $1 million to anybody that you can find on O-Block to say I checked in. This how the whole story went. We was in Chicago for the big three.
Stop.
We went out.
Stop the tape. Stop the tape and rewind it. I want to play it again. He just, $1 million. If you can find anybody that says he checked in with O-Block. Well, we just heard him on O-Block. If you're a real one, you don't mind checking in. Didn't we just hear him say? Stop. Let's play the original tape from O-Block. I just want to be clear. Let's play the tape. The original, Steven Jackson on O-Block, and we'll stop it 15, 20 seconds in after he acknowledges checking in.
Yeah. A lot of y'all be in O-Block pulling up, taking pictures. Where we at?
Tell them how they coming.
We're in the middle of it. I mean, y'all pull up and take pictures and y'all not allowed to.
They sneak.
And one thing about it, if you're a real one, you don't mind checking in.
Checking in. What'd you say?
I check in with the real one. That's why I'm in the middle of O-Block.
Where you at?
You see the hoop?
Okay, stop. Now, this is out of his own mouth. This is what he said in real time when he checked in. Now let's play him explaining it this week that, you know, let's play this second tape or this second video. Let's play that again.
I don't bother nobody. You don't never see me bother nobody getting nobody business, bro. And let's clear up the O-Block shit since we talked about that.
Yeah.
You can't find, I give $1 million to anybody that you can find on O-Block to say I checked in. This how the whole story went. We was in Chicago for the big three. We went out, we got f***ed up, we was back in the hotel gambling and playing cards in the lobby. Will Bynum is from Chicago. He has another dude from Chicago. My drunk ass says, let's go to O-Block.
I mean, that's not a norm for you, though.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not a reach for you.
No, and it wasn't surprising to nobody that was there.
Especially
and Will was like, you for real? I'm like, yeah, dog, let's go. They knew somebody there. They called him, told us we could pull up. I pulled up, rolled some weed with him, smoked with a couple of them. There's one little dude, shout out Ty. I don't know what he got going on around. I'm finna tell you a story about Ty. As soon as I got out there, that little stuck, you know what I'm saying, got right on my hip. You know what I'm saying?
Come on,
little
man.
young nigga. You know, to the point where shit.
If something happened to him, it's happening to me.
Bro, he just stuck to me. You know what I'm saying? Gave him my weed, he rolled me and him smoking together. So I'm out there shooting basketball, shooting the bullshit.
Oh, you
Niggas smoke
jury
5 in the morning.
Yes.
Like I'm in PA, nigga. Ain't no checking in. They pulled up on the youngins.
So, and I appreciate, was that the full 235? Was that the full clip? Because he said some stuff on the back end of that I also want to play. So get that together. I'm going to talk for it here a minute, but I do want to hear the back end of Steven Jackson's comments. Maybe it was an extra minute. I want to hear, because the whole thing was just mind-blowing and fascinating. But when you heard me yesterday talking about the culture, this is what I'm talking about. There's a black culture that's about as pagan as anything I've ever seen. I've only lived 57 years, so I haven't seen it all. And I've read the Bible and know that, there are other levels of paganism and other versions of paganism. And so I know it's not, but when you're in your mid-40s, and again, what did I tell y'all about me growing out this beard and letting the gray come in? And it's a sign of wisdom. As older people, we're supposed to be passing on wisdom. That's biblical. And so I'm saying there's a pagan culture that has been adopted by black people. And there's a pagan culture adopted by other demographics. But this one here that we have adopted here in America and have spread across the globe, there are curses and penalties for it. Because when we greet our young people, we're not trying to lift them up. We're not trying to elevate them. We are trying to bring them down. Hey, I'm going to smoke some weed with you. I'm going to show up and hang out with you at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm drunk and high. I'm going to affirm your demonic behavior that has led Ty to incarceration. It's a self-destructive. When I say we're killing our kids and that there are curses and consequences that go along with that, this is what I'm talking about. And the people that, let's call it out by name. And again, I'm not trying to belabor this point, but I'm just trying to connect the dots for you. We heard Nick Fuentes on his show. I played you the clips of like, Jason's a black conservative and he's got it easy. He's got black privilege. He can say this and he can say that. He hasn't faced the kind of consequences that I've faced. So I know exactly what I'm doing. Steven Jackson and I used to have a shared affinity for each other. And I have affinity for Steven Jackson. But I am going to rebuke publicly his demonic actions and behaviors. And that's going to put me at crossways with Steven Jackson. And when I call him a criminal clown, I know the consequences of that. He don't like me. And he's a criminal clown. He's been arrested before for shooting outside of a nightclub. And just, he's a member of the Bloods. I get it. I'm not making friends. I'm not winning friends and making, or whatever the name of that book is. I'm, in your mind, putting myself in harm's way. In my mind, I'm rebuking him because I fear God more than I fear the Bloods and the Crips and criminal clowns. And so if there's some consequence to rebuking the criminal clowns that are helping young black kids or just young people in general embrace a self-destructive behavior, I'm going to take that risk and be at odds with those people. And if there's some consequence to calling out the wickedness of Nick Fuentes and the Groypers and pointing out, like, y'all not following Jesus Christ. Y'all got the same mentality as Steven Jackson. And y'all operate just like Steven Jackson. Y'all just some high-class Bloods and Crips running around trying to bully and intimidate people into being afraid of you. This is the pagan culture that says if you speak righteousness into the world, there's a price that we will make you pay. And it could cost you your life or your safety. I fear God more than I fear them. I look at the consequences of this pagan culture that is being not just not rebuked, but embraced and celebrated. And these people, and all the people that sit silently watching this, knowing that it's a pagan culture, that it's killing young people, that it's setting them on the path to destruction. And all the people that's like, man, I don't want that smoke. I fear the Bloods and the Crips more than I fear God. Y'all gonna pay a price for that. And it doesn't matter what suit you wear. It doesn't matter what church you lead. It doesn't matter. You know how many people I brought to Christ? And Christ is going, no, I sat and watched you sit silently as people destroyed my babies, potentially your Savior, potentially the people that I'm bringing into the world to do good. I watched you sit silently as a culture was embraced, celebrated, promoted in all kinds of subtle ways inside your church, inside your home, inside your community. And you said nothing. Because you don't fear God. You fear the world. So this system that has been built and has been promoted and allowed to exist, that tells the world and tells the media space that, hey, criminal clowns is the lane for black people to have a prominent platform. And I just want to, let me do this, because tell Jay Skap Attack, add 15 minutes to the time before I get to Jay Skap Attack. Add 15 minutes before I get to Shemeka. It's going to take me a tiny bit longer than what I thought. And so let me remind you all before I finish up on Steven Jackson and transition into a little bit of other stuff. Let me remind you all that tomorrow, April 11th, Angel Studios, the people that brought you The Sound of Freedom, they got another banger movie coming out that promotes our values, those of us that are believers. It's called The King of Kings. A father tells his son the greatest story ever told, and what begins as a bedtime tale becomes a life-changing journey. Through vivid imagination, the boy walks alongside Jesus, witnessing his miracles, facing his trials, and understanding his ultimate sacrifice. The King of Kings invites us to rediscover the enduring power of hope, love, and redemption through the eyes of a child. This film has a high-profile cast of voices, including Oscar Isaac, Pierce Brosnan, Mark Hamill, Ben Kingsley, Uma Thurman, Forrest Whitaker, just to name a few. There is also beautiful animation and is the perfect film to enjoy during this Easter season. I encourage you to see it, The King of Kings, in theaters tomorrow, April 11th. Get your tickets today at angel.com/Jason. That's angel.com/Jason. So we've built, and we've allowed to be built, a system that puts cheese in a trap for black men. Hey, you want to get paid? You want to be a prominent voice in the media? You want Showtime and other corporate institutions to back you as a black man and promote you in one of these platforms? Put on one of these clown suits, put on one of these criminal clown suits, lead young people straight to hell, and we will platform you. And this is specific because just look and see if you see any of these networks like going, hey, you former white athletes, hey, put some criminality or some clownish, buffoonish behavior on your shtick or your resume or on your brand, and we're more apt to hire you and give you a big contract and promote you and build studios and everything, all the smoke. And so you can sit up and get high and give advice to young people and bait them into a criminal lifestyle. They don't do that. And part of the reason they don't do that is because, white men don't primarily, I'm talking about white evangelicals, white Christian men, they don't see like, hey, there's some form of whiteness that another group has defined. The people controlling Hollywood and the music industry have defined as your culture. See, white people are free and bold enough to say, nah, I'm gonna try to follow this Christian culture as best that I can. They've been trained, programmed over the last 150 years to have a colorblind approach. And I'm not saying it's all taken. As you just heard me talk about Nick Fuentes yesterday and all of that, there are a significant number of white people that lean into the same racial idolatry as black people. But because they come from a family structure, they're more likely to say, nah, I'm gonna stick with this Christian stuff. I'm going to promote family stuff. And then I gotta remember that I got a wife and kids to answer to, and I just can't put on this criminal clown suit just to get, some sort of TV paycheck. And I'm gonna do well enough in grade school and junior high and high school that I have better options for me. Because these criminal clowns, the rappers that are all tatted up, Steven Jackson, they did nothing in junior high, high school, elementary school to prepare themselves for anything other than being a clown. And so when the puppet masters, the people in control of the music industry and Hollywood and TV and all that, when they say, hey, I know you did nothing in grade school and junior high and high school and in college, I know they gave you the grades. Hey, we got a great insurance fallback plan on you. We got a great plan B. Come be a criminal clown on one of our television platforms. We got an agency run by Ari Emanuel that'll hook you up and put you into the system. We got this whole criminal clown factory, an assembly line that we'll run you through. And we keep falling for the bait. And if we were more connected to Jesus Christ, we would follow our heart and ignore our head. If we have a heart for Jesus and you surrender to it, you won't let your head and your idolatrous relationship with money, and you won't put yourself in a position where you got 3, 4 baby mamas and yeah, I made some money in the NBA, but I blew it all because I got this baby to pay for, this mama to pay for. I like this drug and that drug. And plus I done bought up all these gold chains and all these cars and a bunch of stuff I didn't need. And now I've created a lifestyle that I can't afford now that my career is over. And so my plan B is to be a criminal clown. I'll give you another example. Gilbert Arenas and ESPN and Bob Iger and Disney have ushered Gilbert Arenas right into, that's Matt Barnes, that's not Gilbert Arenas, has ushered him right into an ESPN Disney platform. He's the next big thing because this system reward. Gilbert Arenas is the guy that got the huge contract from the Washington Wizards or whatever and brought a gun to the locker room and got suspended. And he was a clown in the NBA, had a successful career, but undermined it with his immaturity and clownish behavior and criminality. He and some teammate, I don't remember all the details, but they got in some kind of dispute where they were damn near ready to shoot and kill each other in the locker room, brought guns into the locker room. And who knew at that time when that happened, that's the perfect resume builder for a TV criminal clown. But it is. And I've said here in amazement, for those of us that used to, as black men, we grew up in a time when it's like, hey, let me lean into as much righteousness and proper behavior as possible because that's going to put me in position to excel later in life. You enter the media space, you work hard, you stay out of trouble, You don't do anything. You try to avoid any kind of immorality or public immorality so that your reputation is clean. And that's going to put you in position for employment later in life. That's going to elevate your value. And now we've built a system like in the music industry. When Lyre Cohen and Clive Davis and the people in charge of the music industry, when they go look for black men to empower in the music industry, in the rap music industry, it's like, well, how many tats do you have? Have you been to jail yet? Have you sold any drugs yet to black people in the inner city? How willing are you to say the word nigga every 5 seconds? Are you willing to do that? Okay, we cut it down to 4 seconds. Are you willing to, every 3 seconds, every rap deal has to rhyme with nigga. Are you willing to do that? Yes, I am. Are you willing to call women bitches and hoes and talk about sexual immorality, sexual promiscuity? Yes, I am. And they go get the dumb and the desperate and the tatted up who are willing to promote a criminal lifestyle. The same thing is playing out in sports media and in television. Here's Gilbert Arenas putting together his resume that will elevate him to ESPN. He's now on First Take at Stephen A. Smith's show. Gilbert Arenas is now making appearances on there. But I want to walk you back a year and a half ago when Gilbert Arenas was on his podcast that, again, the puppet masters are making sure that Gilbert Arenas' Gil's Arena or whatever is popular. And they've done that. Here's a clown in the NBA that made a bunch of money for being a great scorer, but showed himself to be a clown. He's moved into the podcast space. Someone's put their finger on the scale to help Gilbert Arenas' podcast become popular and through his pagan behavior and adoption of the pagan culture. And here's Gilbert Arenas a year and a half ago. Just think about it. You're Jimmy Pitaro, you're Bob Iger. Hey, we need another black basketball player to come on Stephen A. Smith's show. And there's only 3,000 candidates to do this. And they have to be clownish, promote immorality. And someone says, hey, have you seen this tape of Gilbert Arenas on his podcast advising a young woman on how to sell sex and make money at it? Hey, guy, Jimmy, Bob Iger, come on in. I got the perfect take for you. Here's a criminal clown telling young people, telling young women, let me put you up on game on how to sell sex to professional athletes. Play the clip.
Listen, for all my future 304s.
Yes, tell him.
And this is gonna sound, but I'm just gonna put you on game. All right, let's say, how many dudes, what's the average?
A Birkin, not a Birkin the first thing.
No, what is the average, what is the average girls per year? Like how many dudes have you slept with 1 year?
Gil ain't gonna buy a Birkin the first night. No. Don't let Gil lie to you. Well, he might, because Gil he had the 100, so he
So
might.
2, 3? So the average, no, what's the average? Like a girl, like a dude. Like how many dudes did in 1 year?
See, it
Like
depends
3?
where the money at.
4?
If Gil got
All right,
the
so
100,
let's just say 4.
So
If you 4 dudes a year or 3 dudes a year, I'm telling you from the ages of probably what, 18 to 35, treat it like a business. Get you some NBA players, let them 3 NBA players. Think about it, the NBA player on the lowest end, on the brokest in the NBA, he gonna pay you about $5,000 a month just to fuck with you. $5,000 a month. So if you got 3 of them, that's $15,000 a month just on the bottom end. Now you talking about you got like a James Harden, a Paul George or something, or me?
Gills, yeah.
You talking about just around with you talking about 10, 20 grand a month just to be cool. and you might have to sleep with dude maybe twice a month, 3 times a month, right? With those dudes, 3 times a month, depending. You making 60 grand a month. What job, what education you gonna get from the ages of 20 to 35 that's gonna pay you 60 grand a month?
That's not realistic,
job.
though.
Like, what the fuck?
That's not
What?
realistic.
That's a job. Like,
What's going?
You caught all that. That's an audition tape. And it's worked. And what's upsetting to me and to other people probably in my age set is like that type of behavior, that type of content, when I was coming up in the business, I graduated college in 1990. You wouldn't want to be caught anywhere on tape publicly talking like that. It would ruin your career. You're promoting the exploitation of women and sexual immorality. And you wouldn't want to be caught anywhere publicly. You might hang out at strip clubs. You might participate to some level, go out to Vegas and participate in the behavior that Gilbert Arenas is talking about. But you didn't want to be caught on tape promoting that because you'd be like, well, that would be irresponsible. I'm participating in promoting a self-destructive behavior for young women and young people. I don't want to be caught on tape. And that's going to make me unhireable. And now it makes you more hireable. That's how upside down this world is. And so there used to be something called the National Legion of Decency. It's a Catholic organization. And it used to fight immorality in television and in Hollywood. And this was a battle that went on like during the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And it was primarily, and I'm just speaking facts here, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but this is factual. Catholic lawyers and Jewish lawyers used to battle each other in court over the direction of Hollywood and the direction of TV. These are facts. That's not my history. And then the National Legion of Decency ended up losing that war in 1965 and had to reorganize. And none of you have ever heard of the National Legion of Decency. You've never heard of the fight that they used to lead, trying to censor or keep out. Hey, like, there's only so far we want to go in popular culture, on TV, in terms of promoting immorality. And when they lost the fight, they ended up putting pornography and that level of sexual indecency, that's all under free speech now. And it used to be like, no, that's obscenity, and we don't want it, and we're just not going to let that go anywhere and do anything it wants to do. And so the National Legion of Decency, these are historical facts. I'm just telling you historical facts. Been run out. And now indecency is promoted, celebrated, and rewarded. And we have criminal clowns everywhere, doing anything they want, getting big checks, getting promoted. And black people, American black people, we sign up for, hey, I want to be a criminal clown, or I want to help criminal clowns reach the top. And then we idolize these criminal clowns, and we protect them, and we celebrate them. And anybody that says anything about the criminal clowns, that Uncle Tom Coon sellout, how dare he stand in the way of their indecency? How dare he speak out and say that they're corrupting the minds of young people. They're setting a poor example. They're pushing black people into a cult, a pagan culture that defines blackness as immoral. How dare Jason Whitlock, these Christian evangelical black people, how dare they try to stop that? How dare they rebuke or object to that? Don't they know criminal clowns are going to save black people? They're going to go to O Block and smoke weed and get drunk with young people that shoot each other at the drop of a hat. Let's all sit quiet. Let's not object, because there's danger. The Bloods and the Crips may kill you, Jason. I would rather that happen than to deal with an angry God that has watched a pagan culture take root and destroy young people, even before they get out of the womb. It's just nihilism. And so you want to know why so many young black women are comfortable opening their legs to any and everybody? Won't require the man to put on a condom, won't get on birth control, because they know, like, hey, if I get pregnant, this criminal clown will cut me a check first to kill the baby, and then second, for me to be quiet about it. And so you've built a partnership with Planned Parenthood and the child sacrifice industry, because this plan, here's how it works. If I get pregnant, worst thing that'll happen is, particularly for one of these professional athletes, worst thing that'll happen is I'll get a $50,000 check for killing the baby, and they'll pay for the $500 or whatever it costs, or hell, you know, they'll get some free abortion, because the people running the eugenics organization that does Planned Parenthood, they'll harvest the organs and all that other stuff. You know, they'll get the benefits of this child sacrifice. Then, well, I could keep the baby. And, you know, let's say I have a baby by someone that's not rich. Well, the government will cut me a check, and that will help me. Or I can keep the baby, not worry about the money at this point, but I can develop, nurture, and disciple this baby, particularly if he's a boy, to basically be my boyfriend and or husband, and commit his life to making sure once he's of age, 18, 19, or for some of these women, 15, 16, that he spends his life trying to take care of me, being my provider. And if he has to go deal drugs to be my provider, I'll help him do that. If he happens to show some athletic talent, I'll help nurture that, help him hopefully get a professional career going. He can take care of me then. Or he'll get a scholarship and go to college, get some degree, get some corporate job. And then once he starts making enough, then he'll take care of me. So they got all kinds of plans they can hatch off of. Hey, I'm going to spread my legs, and hopefully I'll hit the lottery, and it'll be some professional athlete that will take care of me, or I'll have some professional athlete that will take care of me, or just in some way worst case scenario, the government's going to take care of me. This is a pagan culture that has to be rebuked. This is a child sacrifice, because even the children that survive, they're being sacrificed. They're not being properly developed. They're being developed for other means other than developing them so that they glorify God in some way. And so, what do you mean? I took my kids to church. Well, you may have taken them to church because you know that minister is going to get behind that pulpit and celebrate mama and women and convince that young child that he should worship and celebrate mama and women. And that he should develop a mindset that mama has final say on any and everything. She's the matriarch. That's the message of a lot of these churches. You can see it in the behavior of young people. You can see it in the mindset of these young people. And so now that young boy, when he goes off into the world as an adult, he's bringing the baggage of, well, this single mama, I got to take care of her. And if I take on a wife, now I got two women that I have to negotiate with, answer to. They're going to compete. They're not going to like each other. It's going to cause drama. I'm going to be a mama's boy. I'm going to be handpicked. I'm going to be someone that doesn't do anything without consulting his mama first, which is going to undermine that woman's respect for me. It's going to interfere between the covenant that I've made with God, that man is going to follow God. I'm going to follow that man as he follows God, and we're going to develop and nurture these children. Because now that man is actually following mama, and you're following a man that's following mama, and your children are basically being discipled and raised into the matriarchal mindset of woman is the end all, be all, and the final authority on any and everything. And you've helped create and contribute to this very matriarchal culture that is destroying children, neighborhoods unsafe. I hear people all the time say, they'll point to child molestation and blah, blah, blah. Well, this other group has a bigger problem with that. And I hear you based on the stats and the data, but the reality is child molestation and those issues are a byproduct most acute in destroyed nuclear families. And we have a sexual molestation problem within this black pagan culture that's unreported and not talked about. Because in a community or in a family that's structured properly, it's more likely to be reported when your child is violated, when mama and daddy are supervising that child, there's a proper relationship between daddy, mama, and child. There's support for the child to say what happened to him. And it's not like, well, I'm out working 2 jobs because I'm a single mama and I ain't got time to supervise my kids. And if their uncle or next door neighbor or cousin or babysitter did something to them, I'm so busy, I can't see it. I can't get it out of my kids because they don't talk to me enough and they're afraid to talk about it. But any of us that have lived long enough to have eyes and ears with some sort of maturity, like we got friends, and particularly these athletes. And it's why they have so many problems. They grow up in single parent homes. They look when they're 16, they look 22. When they're 12, they look 18. They got babysitters. They got cousins, aunties that are overweight, unattractive. And so they give some to a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old boy to make themselves feel better. But that's never considered molestation. It is. I've gone so much further than I expected, and I'm still not there because I want to end this. I'm on Shemeka, I'm going to give you the day off and we'll get to it tomorrow. Skap, I'm still coming to you, but I got to unpack a little bit more of this. Before I do, though, you guys have heard me talking about my great friend, Jeffrey Steele, and I've shared with you all about how Jeffrey Steele and I both love Relief Factor. Relief Factor fights, the inflammation and pain that many of us deal with and accept on a daily basis. You don't have to. As I share with you all, Jeffrey Steele, 63 years old, bikes 30 miles every morning. Every morning. That's his alone time where he collects his thoughts, thinks about his day, gets right with Jesus. He's 63, biking every day. And part of the reason he can do it, Relief Factor. This little daily supplement that fights inflammation, which is the source of pain in most bodies. Inflammation is the source of disease. Just $20. You can get their 3-week quick start program. It's $19.95. It's actually less than $20. It's less than $1 a day. Get their 3-week quick start program. Most of the people that take that 3-week quick start, 70% of them return and re-up because they felt the results of taking Relief Factor. $20. You don't have $20 to try to relieve some of that pain that's compromising your life and preventing you from doing the things that you used to take for granted? Of course you have $20. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. 1-800, the number 4, relief, or visit relieffactor.com. Let me get to this, and I'm circling back to this topic because I didn't fully unpack it yesterday. I want to connect everything I just said about Steven Jackson, Gilbert Arenas, to what I call MLK Ultras. And these are people that are established, influenced, planted to do some sort of Martin Luther King impersonation, Muhammad Ali impersonation, while leading people straight to hell. And so I put in those on that picture, like Shaun King, the white guy that thinks he's black or lies to people and says he's black. He's a different version of Nick Fuentes. And so Shaun King, remember DeRay McKesson, these Black Lives Matter personalities that just kind of pop up out of nowhere. And the next thing, they're being fed information, they're being put in position to build these social media followings out of nowhere. And then you have black people that are very idolatrous as it relates to color and think that the whole world is about, hey, who out there black is fighting white supremacy? And so you can create these characters. Shaun King, DeRay McKesson, if you go back, if we dialed the clock back to 2019, 2020, 2018, 2014 with Michael Brown, these guys were super important and they came from out of nowhere. And the next thing you know, they were the next Martin Luther King and DeRay McKesson, LGBTQIA plus silent P, alphabet mafia soldier, Shaun King, a white guy with a white daddy and a white mama and a birth certificate. He looks just like his white daddy, but they allowed him to do his little psyop where he claimed, oh, well, my mother lied to me about who my daddy was, and if I cut my hair real short like this, you'll never see who I really am, and I can pull off pretending to be black. And black people fell for it. Black celebrities fell for it. Everybody was following Shaun King on social media. I'll never forget when I heard Steph Curry make some little passing comment about how he follows Shaun King, and I'm like, oh, they got everybody. And look, you've heard me say, Shaun King initially got me. Initially, I gave money to early on in the Michael Brown psyop, based off the information Shaun King was passing around. But this whole MLK Ultras deal, Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, and even LeBron James, they're all doing Martin Luther King impersonations and promoting social justice and activism, and here's the way to fight white supremacy, and this is gonna make black folks better if we can just tamp down white supremacy. instead of, and I'm not saying MLK did this because MLK had some handlers too, and he got off script as it relates to the gospel. But I'm gonna leave MLK out of it for right now. But these MLK ultras that got batteries put in their back, and LeBron James may not even know that there's puppet strings in his back. But the other four, Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, Sean King, DeRay McCarthy, they know who put the batteries in their back, and their job is to lead black people away from thinking, you know what? Fighting so-called white supremacy is not superior to embracing Jesus Christ. You know, if I embrace Jesus Christ in a biblical worldview, I'm going to get more positive results than running around thinking I'm fighting white supremacy. You know what? In this Bible, white supremacy is never mentioned. Pagan cultures, false idols, idolatry is mentioned over and over and over again. And if you're a child of Israel, which we all are, if you're the seed of Adam, which we all are, the Bible says, hey man, dust off, remove yourself, rebuke these pagan cultures, and all these consequences and curses won't be visited upon you. This is clear as day. This is what the Bible is about. And so Jesus Christ has told you that these cultures that you adopt outside the body of Christ will destroy you. And then you have these MLK ultras that come out and got batteries put in their back, and they tell you, no, don't worry about the culture you've adopted. It can be as satanic as anything in the world. What you need to do is fight and bicker with the white man. Make him unhappy. Make him uncomfortable. That's going to make you feel better. If I inflict pain on the white man, it brings me joy. It makes me feel better. And my kids are going to do better in school because I've labeled the white man as the worst thing on earth. Shake off them pagan cultures. And so this is the black side of MLK ultras. And I'm gonna land this plane, but I'm gonna show you the white side of racial idolatry, because it works just the same as the MLK ultras, and it's called chaos. It's chaos culture, and it's spelled out. I use the word chaos because there's a fantastic book that you've read or heard about or seen the movie Helter Skelter. It's about Charles Manson. That's a phony story about Charles Manson and that movement and that tragedy. The real story is chaos. And you should read it because it completely debunks Helter Skelter. The Hollywood version of Charles Manson, the ones that they made movies about, promoting Helter Skelter and Charles Manson was this demonic figure. No, he was an MK Ultra. He was drugged up and controlled by the CIA and the deep state. He was allowed to commit crimes and do all kinds of things and promote the fact that, you got to prepare for this race war and white people, we're going to take on black people and blah, blah, blah. That's what he was allowed to do. Read the book Chaos. And then you'll come into some understanding and some of the scales will come off your eyes. And so we have MLK ultras that are, bad impersonations or different impersonations of Martin Luther King. And then we have chaos culture or chaos ultras. People like Sean King's back on here because he's really white and he's there to promote chaos. But it's Jim Jones. Remember the cult leader? He's MK Ultra, all drugged up, preaching Marxism, preaching to black people the white man hates you, but I'm the special white man that doesn't hate you, and let's go off to the jungle and embrace Marxism and let me walk you away from your Christian beliefs. And eventually we're all going to kill ourselves out in the middle of this jungle. A chaos ultra. An asset to promote chaos. Nick Fuentes, Ray Epps, chaos culture. Assets. January 6th, run into these buildings, go through the barricades, this way, people. Helping lead people to 4 years of imprisonment. But Ray Epps and Nick Fuentes never paid a price for that. They're there to promote chaos. Nick Fuentes running around, hey, we're Christians. But nothing we say, the way we present ourselves, it's not consistent with Christianity. We curse and scream and call names and tell people, oh, there's this special group of people that Jesus never mentioned in the Bible, but we have to deal with, and they're innately inferior to everybody else. They haven't adopted a pagan culture. Whitlock and these guys that are telling you that black people have adopted a pagan culture, that's not it. It's their skin color. So ignore the lessons of the Bible that specifically tell you the children of Israel adopted pagan cultures and were cursed and suffered all kinds of calamities and consequences from that pagan culture. Ignore that. What the Bible left out, what Jesus left out, is my understanding. And my understanding says that those people with more melanin, they're innately evil and inferior. And so we can forget about them. We don't need to rebuke their pagan culture that they've fallen into because they're the worst. And this allows white people to ignore their pagan culture, their nihilistic instincts, their belief in abortion and the murder of children and their role in that. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on forever, but there's a system that has been built to platform criminal clowns, platform MLK ultras, platform promote these chaos culture people. And it's all a gimmick and a game to separate believers by race. The racial idolatry on both sides, out of control, coming to a head, trying to bait us into a racial conflict that will bring down this country and will put us at odds with God, that will stop us from addressing head on the pagan cultures that are destroying America. And for those of you that are upset with me, and I'm about to upset you a bit more, but these damn Catholics, the real ones, I don't know if they got everything right, but I sure miss the Legion of Decency. I miss it. I never got to experience it. I was born 2 years after it reorganized and basically disbanded. But I got to enjoy the benefits early in my life. What was left over of their fight, of trying to keep this level of immorality out of popular culture. I miss that there used to be a standard of like, hey man, if you behave in some sort of righteous fashion and keep your name clean, there's all these opportunities and jobs and platforms available to you. I miss that. I wish we had that. We don't. Now we're platforming demons. Hey, Super Bowl halftime, Kendrick Lamar, come on out here and curse and rap about Drake being a pedophile in a way that most people can't understand, put on some women's jeans and do that. Oh, and the year before, Beyonce, come on out here and do some satanic rituals on stage, and Dr. Dre and Snoop, y'all come on out here and do this little gangster rap and Crip walk and promote other demonic cultures. Can't go into a basketball arena for little kids without them piping in the demonic hip-hop music. I want y'all to think about it. Those of you that are taking your kids, young kids, to basketball practice today, tomorrow, this summer, on the AAU circuit, listen to the music that they're piping in as they corrupt your children and corrupt you. When you go to an NBA arena, listen to the actual music that they're playing. Whoop that trick. Sorry, I promise you, I came in here with the clear intention. I got 45 minutes. I've gone an hour and 11 minutes. Hope you enjoyed it. We're going to bring Jay Skap Attack in and talk a little sports, lighten up the back end of the show, and then I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your Thursday. Skap Attack, next.
ESPN sucks. Kendrick Perkins has been on the record saying he considers LeBron James the GOAT.
Yeah.
Kendrick Perkins says a negative word about LeBron James, and LeBron James blocks Kendrick Perkins.
Unfollow me.
Unfollowed you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Unfollowed
hey, Stephen
you.
A.
Okay.
Hey, Stephen A. But let me say this to you. He unfollowed me, and then I blocked him on my cell phone. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
let me say this. So he unfollowed. Hold on.
Many of our colleagues here at ESPN have planned and organized a walkout that will be happening at 3 p.m. Eastern today. And to be honest with you, we thought we were going to come here today and really celebrate a sport that has meant so much and done so much, including for so many in the LGBTQIA+ communities. But we understand the gravity of this legislation and also how it is affecting so many families across this country. And because of that, our allyship is going to take a front seat. And with that, we're going to pause in solidarity.
And that's why
ESPN sucks.
All right, welcome back. Jay Skap Attack, welcome back to the show. Jay, Luka Dončić took on the Dallas Mavericks last night and destroyed them. This has sparked something in Jay Williams, the ESPN broadcaster, former Duke star, NBA player that had his career damaged by injury. Here is Jay Williams on Twitter, I believe, yesterday. Dallas didn't trade Luka. They straight up committed basketball treason. Gifted him to LeBron like a donation. Now he's back, dropping 45, 8, and 6, getting MVP chance in their own building. That's not just self-sabotage. That's a generational implosion. Skap, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Jason. Always a pleasure to be here. And shout out to Jay Williams. It must be a Jay thing, because I've actually shockingly been seeing eye to eye with Jay Williams for the last week now or so. He's been making a lot of damn sense over there at the ESPN mothership. If he's not careful, he's going to find himself out of a job swiftly because he's making so much sense. And that network doesn't like to hear those kinds of things. But I mean, this was a disgraceful move 2 months ago, the move that shocked the basketball world when the Dallas Mavericks, Nico Harrison, their general manager over there, ownership, for whatever reason, lost their minds and traded an absolute generational star in Luka Dončić, who, Jason, at the time was only 25. He's now 26 years old. He has been dealing with injuries this season. And there's been much made of his shape and conditioning throughout his first 5 years in Dallas. But, I mean, he's typically playing 60 in the mid 60s to low 70s in terms of games played throughout the course of his career until this season, where he's going to hit around 50 games. And he's been first team All-NBA every year of his career, Jason, until this season, after his rookie season. So basically his rookie season and then this season, which has been derailed by injuries. Other than that, 5 first-team All-NBA selections for this guy. To say he's generational is actually underselling it. He's 4th all-time in career box plus minus right now. He has the 3rd highest career scoring average behind only Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. He's 2nd in playoff scoring points per game behind only Michael Jordan. Here's a little trivia question for you and your audience, Jason. The only 2 players ever to score at least 30 points per game in their playoff careers, that would be Michael Jordan and Luka Dončić. And they trade that guy for Anthony Davis and 1 first-round draft pick, essentially. Pathetic, disgraceful. Jay Williams, I mean, that's a good terminology. I think I used it in a video I published last night at like 3 a.m. Treason. Basketball treason. And the Dallas Mavericks, as a result, well, they're in the 10 seed. They're probably heading into the play-in and an elimination in that first game. The Lakers, meanwhile, Jason, have gone from a perennial play-in contender themselves to maybe arguably the best team in the Western Conference, all because of Luka Dončić. Thanks for nothing, Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, you say thanks for nothing, Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks. I think that's a tiny bit of an easy way out. And what's going to get Jay Williams in trouble is so passionately calling out like, hey, man, this is insanity, and I don't think, and again, the more he draws attention to it and how insane it is, I think it's less easy for people to accept, like, oh, this is Nico Harrison. This has to be the league and wanting LeBron James to have a playoff run, and there are other people that believe that, again, the Dallas Mavericks are trying to leverage their way, the what's her name? Adelson. I can't think of her last name. Miriam Adelson, I think maybe. But trying to leverage their way into a casino and new arena. I think blaming Nico is an easy way out, and that's why people would prefer, and Jay Williams could get in trouble. If he keeps drawing attention to the insanity of this trade, people are going to put on their tinfoil hats like me and say, this ain't Nico. Anybody with a brain, my mother wouldn't have made this trade, let alone some guy that actually knows basketball.
I think, there could be some smoke there. Obviously, the league would have had to given something to the Dallas Mavericks, because when you're trading this guy away in his mid-20s, he's obviously a massive moneymaker for the franchise. So there has to be some bigger, better carrot that's being dangled over their head in order to authorize Nico Harrison to make this move. And then, of course, Nico Harrison was positioned perfectly to leverage his individual relationship with Rob Pelinka, the Lakers general manager. Remember, these two guys have about a 20-year friendship, Pelinka and Harrison, because they were both on Team Kobe Bryant dating back to the early 2000s. Nico Harrison was Kobe Bryant's Nike rep, and Pelinka was Kobe Bryant's agent at the time. So these guys traveled the world together for, years, decade or more with their families and so forth. So really, it was just so well positioned for that kind of a trade to be made between those two. But Jason, who knows? I can't speculate on the financials or what the league might have authorized the Dallas Mavericks to make this move. I think, if anything, we see with the Denver move and what they're doing with their head coach and front office, idiocy is just running rampant in the NBA today. Maybe, Jason, maybe the Clutch Sports, LeBron James, the NBA offices have this elaborate scheme to get Luka Dončić there to give the self-proclaimed king LeBron one final run at an NBA championship. Or maybe, just maybe, the Dallas Maverick ownership are a bunch of idiots like the ones that are running the Denver Nuggets right now. I really can't decide which it is.
I'm not willing to go there, and I'm really not. It's This is like, you know what this trade is? I'll give it to you. I'll give you, and I'll give you an analogy. Building 7 committing suicide on 9/11. You'll never convince me that that building just fell because, it looked over and said, oh, the Twin Towers, I'm so distraught. Let me commit suicide. Or debris or whatever they said took that down. I'm just sorry, I can't go there. And so I can't go there that Nico Harrison thought this was a good deal. I can't do it. And you mentioned the Denver Nuggets and firing Michael Malone. And that has somehow sparked rumors that Nikola Jokic may want to exit Denver and could somehow end up with the Lakers. But so anyway, before we get to that part, let's just address Michael Malone, I think 2 years ago, won the NBA title and has this team in title or playoff contention this year without really a number 2 to Nikola Jokic. How does he get fired? What is it? Maybe here's I do have a possible scenario there. They say that him and the general manager, Calvin Booth, couldn't stand each other, talked behind each other's back. And so sometimes ownership says, hey, I got a GM and a coach that can't get along. I'm not going to decide who's right and who's wrong here. I'm just going to move on from both of them. Maybe that's what happened here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, Jason, this is absolute idiocy, again, by ownership. But just as it relates to what happened to Michael Malone in particular, I mean, in sports and, I mean, in society in general, we seem to go a little too far, I think, with the way we're describing certain events that we're seeing in the moment. Saying this is shocking, unprecedented, I mean, it's really underselling it. This is tied for it's the latest that a coach has been fired in NBA history. And Hubie Brown, I believe, was fired at the same time with 3 games left. But Hubie Brown was like 31-48 when he was relieved of his position. Michael Malone is literally 2 years removed from winning an NBA championship. He's been there for 10 years, and his record overall it comes out to about 49 wins per season. So this guy's been winning 50 games a year on average for you. He just won the NBA championship last year. They've made the playoffs 6 years. And for him to be fired 3 games out is unequivocal madness on behalf of the ownership. Now, Calvin Booth, they needed to get his bum self removed from there. And it's probably 2 years too late on that front, Jason. Because the reason why the Nuggets have been failing, they were on a 4-game losing streak when they made the decision ultimately to let both go. The reason they've been failing is because the roster construction on this team is lousy, it's pathetic, and it's quite frankly embarrassing. A player like Nikola Jokic to have surrounded him with what he has been surrounded with now into his 10th season. Jason, he's going to be in his 11th year next year. He's turning 31 next year, and this is what this guy has to deal with. A historical, generational player. He's the on-court intangible, statistical output, etc., will have you believe that this guy is a top 10 all-time player, a fringe top 10er right now, probably matriculating in the direction of getting into that top 10. And he just simply has no help, no supporting cast at all. They have systematically let all of the players go, the veterans that helped them acquire that championship, players like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, all let go for Calvin Booth and these draft picks that he's made. He's trying to build a young team, and none of the draft picks are panning out. So that's pretty much been the infighting between him and Malone. Malone refuses to play these young players, and Booth is just doubled down on them, and the whole roster is imploding. Calvin Booth gave Jamal Murray a $210 million extension in the summer. That hasn't even triggered yet. This guy could barely play 50 games a year. He's hardly ever available in the playoffs, and they haven't even triggered that 4-year extension yet. That takes place this upcoming year. This is what Nikola Jokic is working with, And now this amateurish circus stunt by the Kroenke family to fire the only coach he has known, Nikola Jokic, 10 years in the league, 10 years with Michael Malone, 3 games out before the playoffs. It's unequivocal madness, like I said. And I am totally opposed to players demanding trades and the team movement and the roster stacking. Nikola Jokic has every right to demand a trade at the end of this season, which is probably going to end in the first round. Josh Kroenke, let me just before I turn it over to you, because yes, Calvin Booth, idiot. Jamal Murray, undeserving of the contract that he has, only because Calvin Booth was in his place. But ultimately, the king idiot, Jason, is Josh Kroenke. I want to give him a shout out. Josh Kroenke, this moron, president of basketball operations for the Nuggets. He's the son of Stan Kroenke and Ann Walton, who amassed, a major sports conglomerate. His father, Stan, and his mother, Ann, comes from the Walmart fortune. So we have this entitled, petulant little brat who has achieved nothing in his entire life, born with a silver spoon, gets given this job, Josh Kroenke, shout out to you, and has now destroyed the prime of a top 10 all-time NBA player in Nikola Jokic. If I were him, I would say this offseason, enough is enough. Move me now. I will never play. I've played my last game, whenever that is, probably, like I said, in the first round this year of the playoffs.
Skap, I'm not done with you. I'm just taking a moment. I got to take a cigarette break, a smoke that was so good that, I just have to take a moment to, I'm not taking a break, guys. I'm just, pretending to smoke a cigarette right now. That was really, really good. And so I have a follow-up to that. Okay, Calvin Booth, Michael Malone, who's responsible? Who wanted Russell Westbrook?
There's some background going on today that at heart of one of the feuds going on between the front office and coaching was involving Russell Westbrook's playing time. And quite frankly, Nikola Jokic, who has very little input in this, on the inner workings of this team and on what the roster construction looks like. I saw an interview with him. He spoke with the press and addressed them after the game last night when they finally won a game and snapped that 4-game losing streak. And he was talking, obviously, about the Malone firing. And he said that he did know about it a little bit before everybody else, that Josh told him about it, but that there was no conversation, that he was told that we had made a decision and this is what the decision is. So Jokic, who has very little input on player personnel, and he really doesn't want that, Jason. Jokic looks at himself as like a worker. Like he basically, basketball is his profession. He plays on the court. That's that. But from what I understand, Nikola Jokic actually kind of spoke for Russell Westbrook in the offseason. He played a factor in going to the front office and kind of pitching that he wanted to bring Russell Westbrook on board. So that is probably one that the Russell Westbrook bullet probably is one that Nikola Jokic would have to take. But they had very little, Jason, to work with otherwise. There was almost no way they were going to add anything to that roster at price in the offseason because of the way the roster is constructed. They lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in the offseason, who was a starter on that team, and they missed out on a number of other players they were looking. They wanted to bring in Klay Thompson. They didn't have the money to make that work. So really the only thing they could add were these fringe veteran minimum type guys, and Russell Westbrook ended up being that guy. And Michael Malone has relied on him throughout the season. He started a couple games intermittently. And look, ultimately, the Nuggets have dealt with a lot of injuries. Aaron Gordon, he's played like 48 or 49 games, so he's missed 30-plus games. Jamal Murray is consistently always hurt. He's going to miss. This is actually a pretty stellar season for Jamal in terms of his playing time. I think he's played around 66 games, so he's missed nearly 20 games ultimately when it's all said and done. So, I mean, Russell Westbrook is, if nothing else, durable and reliable and available. So they've had to rely on him throughout major stretches of the season this year.
I'm wondering if they should have drug tested Jokic during the offseason when he made that Westbrook suggestion. But I'm gonna leave that alone for now. I have to think about that one. Steve Kerr had something interesting to say about Michael Malone. I'm very reluctant to praise Steve Kerr, but occasionally when he sticks to basketball, he actually says something halfway intelligent. Let's hear Steve Kerr's take on Mike Malone getting fired.
How overall teams are reacting to movement among the coaching staff?
I think one thing that's happened is most teams are now owned by billionaires, big corporations, and so we're all more expendable. There's so much money in the business now, and there's pluses and minuses to that. You know, we're all making bigger salaries than we were 5 years ago, but we're all much more vulnerable because I don't think a lot of the owners are that concerned with firing a guy and paying him off to go away. And again, it's this is a business we chose, and we all love it. But it's it's not the most stable profession, that's for sure.
Let me read between the lines in what Steve Kerr is saying there. He's saying what you're saying, that like, hey, there's so much money here, it feels like monopoly money, even to the owners. And I'm filling in a lot of the blanks, things that he cannot say, but it's just like, hey man, the transfer of wealth that's gone on since COVID and has gone on in the stock market, it's like, man, we took guys that used to be worth $1 billion and now they're worth $9 billion. And if you were worth $9 billion, now you're worth 18 or $20 billion. And now their kids, he's taking a direct shot at Josh Kroenke, that didn't even have anything to do with earning this money. They're actually these multi-billionaires. It feels like monopoly money to them. This is, it feels like a PlayStation. It feels like NBA 2K or whatever the popular NBA game is on PlayStation or whatever. It feels like that. And these moves of like, hey, I got to pay Michael Malone $30 million that's left on his contract, or $40 million. That's the same as me. Well, I got to pay $40,000 for Mike Malone to go away. Yeah, I'll do that. I won't miss that $40 million. It's just, I'll replace that in the stock market the next time it dips over tariffs and I buy low and it recovers and I recover. He can replace that. And so these young people of inherited wealth, and even these old people that earn the money, this money doesn't feel real to them. And so giving somebody $40 million to go away because you made a mistake, it's not the same as in the old days. And I actually think he's on rock solid ground with that explanation.
Yeah, Jason, I, like you, am reluctant to give Kerr any credit in any capacity. I thought that the pervasive woke ideologies bouncing around his brain rotted it long ago. But hey, look, he actually does know what he's talking about when he sticks to basketball, as you said. Yeah, it's a great point by Kerr, and to your point and the one that I just made. I mean, this is at its heart an ownership issue. Obviously, I mean these guys, the Denver Nuggets had a good general manager in place in Tim Connolly, and Kroenke let him go 3 years ago. Tim Connolly coincidentally went to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who amassed a team that was perfectly capable and positioned to beat this Denver Nuggets squad. They did just that last year in the second round of the playoffs, and it looks like the Timberwolves have leapfrogged Denver in the hierarchy of the Western Conference now on Calvin Booth's watch, the predecessor, that again was handpicked by Josh Kroenke. And it's just the lack of any kind of moves in any way, shape, or form, Jason. When you look at it, the construction is what it is. You made mistakes. The Michael Porter Jr. contract was a mistake. The Jamal Murray contract is a pivotal mistake. He's owed the 5th most money of any player in the NBA right now, including in 2029, he'll be the 4th highest paid player in the world, Jason. He has never sniffed, Jamal Murray, a single All-Star game. In fact, and I do mean never sniffed, the highest that he has finished is 10th in Western Conference backcourt voting in any year in the All-Star game. Not sniffing an All-Star game. He has never made one single writer's ballot for first, second, or third team All-NBA. Not one ballot, not 1 year, not ever. That's how far away Jamal Murray is from an elite, high-end performer, and he's going to be the 4th highest paid player in the NBA in 2029 when he's in his 30s and he can barely stay healthy now. It was a disastrous contract. But even when you go beyond that, read the season, Calvin. Look at the season. Look at what's happening. They were clearly imploding this year around a historical season by Nikola Jokic. And you want to know how many moves he made in season, Jason? 0. The Denver Nuggets were one of only 4 teams this year that made no moves in the middle of the season. 1 of 4. Should not have come as a surprise, though, Jason, because in the 3 years since Josh Kroenke let Tim Connolly go to Minnesota and moved Calvin Booth in, Calvin Booth has made no moves any of those 3 years in season. So, again, this is just flushing down Nikola Jokic's career down a toilet. And if you're Josh Kroenke and you just want to make money, and this is just the business, to your and Kerr's point, let's cut Nikola Jokic loose. Let him go. Trade him. Move him. Do something. Like, don't extend him to a contract, because Jokic is one of the most loyal guys in the league, one of the most loyal superstars we've ever seen, and now he's left to deal with this amateurish garbage yet again going into the playoffs. It's just sad to watch it, and I don't understand how or why we've gotten here. And this looks like it's just another Kevin Garnett situation in Minnesota before he ultimately left to go to Boston. And, I mean, it really reminds me of Hakeem Olajuwon, who sat idly by wasting his prime in Houston. That's pretty much the same trajectory that we're on now with Nikola Jokic.
How about this, Skap? I'm throwing it out there. It's a bit of a curveball. But let's say you're Josh Kroenke and did you ever watch Succession?
Mm-hmm.
The TV show Succession. Why can't I think of the dad's oldest son? I can't think of his name. The oldest son that tried to take down his dad had the drug. Do you know who I'm talking about? Why can't someone help me out with Succession? I gotta call the guy's name. I'm dirty. Am I? You got time?
Yeah.
Am I keeping you too long?
Not at all.
Perfect. Roman is the young. Kendall Roy. That's what I'm thinking of. He's Logan's oldest son. Bit of a loser, drug addict, bit of a beta male. At the end, he wanted to be woke, but he's this billionaire son. So Kendall Roy, that may be who we're talking about as it relates to Josh Kroenke. And so he reaches the conclusion that, man, I've hired the wrong general manager. He's making really, really stupid decisions. He's damaged this team. This is a nightmare. And then, like someone like Kendall Roy would think, they go, oh, but he's black. And if I fire him, this woke media may jump down my throat. How could you fire the general manager that led a team to a championship just 2 years ago? And so then he goes, well, I know how I'll do it. I won't take sides in the fight between Calvin Booth and Michael Malone. I'll fire them both. And I'll fire Michael Malone first. And so in order to avoid the PC mob, the woke mob, and any allegations that Josh Kroenke is a racist idiot that fired the black general manager that put this team together, I'll sacrifice Michael Malone. I'll sacrifice my relationship with Nikola Jokic. That perhaps might explain what we see in Denver.
I mean, it's a great point. I wouldn't give you virtually any pushback at all on that. Kroenke's obviously, he's got a lot of, other guys in this line. He's got good company in, rich, entitled kids that do nothing and just inherit what their parents built. We've seen it time and time again. It happened right when Dr. Jerry Buss turned things over to the idiot son, Jim Buss. I mean, and they flushed Kobe Bryant's waning prime down the toilet there. You know, it happened in New York, I think, with the Steinbrenner handoff. I mean, whatever. The guy, Jim Irsay, the Colts owner that basically inherited that from his dad. Essentially, every kid that we see that isn't forced to really achieve or accomplish anything on their own merit and just inherits it, I don't know what it is, Jason. The entitlement, the idiocy, maybe a mixture of it all. And they're just not doing an effective job in running these teams. And I think in today's climate, you raise a good point. Josh Kroenke, I'm sure that he didn't have the character or will to push back on his decision to just fire Calvin Booth and let Michael Malone skate through. So I think that you have raised a pretty good theory here. And of course, Michael Malone then in this scenario, which I believe he is, would be a victim. But the biggest victim of all, again, Jason, is Nikola Jokic. This guy he's on a time clock. Like Michael Malone, yes. It stinks to lose your job, but he's 53 years old. He still has many, many years to go on and make several $1 million coaching somewhere else, which will begin next year. Nikola Jokic has a limited time here to work with, and he's going to be 31 next year, and he really hasn't had any viable supporting cast in his entire career to this point. And now, Jason, they have to scramble and find a new general manager, find a new head coach, and try to find some way to upgrade this roster, do all of those components in the offseason, or risk wasting another season of Nikola Jokic's prime next year, and he'll be 32 the following year. So this is really what we're looking at, and it is an absolute travesty. It is a sham, and Josh Kroenke is the guy that deserves the biggest piece of the blame pie. Like the huge, heaping corner of the blame pie goes right to entitled buffoon nincompoop Josh Kroenke.
Skap, do you have time for me to tell a story?
Of course.
It's not a long story, but I just want to play off your point to show you how when fat, spoiled, entitled kids inherit something from their parents, it doesn't go well. My dad owned a wonderful bar in Indianapolis in the inner city. It was called the Masterpiece Lounge. It's my favorite place on earth. And when he passed the bar on to me. And I ran the bar one day, and we probably lost $4,000 on that day. And so here I was. My dad passes, and here's my bright idea. We're going to have the funeral service. I'm going to officiate it. My dad was never a religious person, so I had a secular funeral for him that I hosted. And then I invited everybody that came to the funeral. My dad was very popular in the hood in Indianapolis. You know, he was a ghetto superstar. And so I invited everybody to the Masterpiece Lounge for the repast. And I said, drinks and food are on me. And it ended up costing me about $4,500, $5,000 the one day I ran the Masterpiece Lounge. So I think your story resonates with me. I'm no better than Josh Kroenke. I inherit a dynasty, the Masterpiece Lounge, and we went into the red the moment I took over. I took all kinds of risks. I had no, the liquor license wasn't in my name. I shouldn't even been. And that party probably went till 1 a.m. in the morning. And in the back, when we closed up at 1 a.m. and I'm closing up the back, there's a guy. This guy wasn't at the party. But there's a guy in the backyard or in the back alley of my dad's bar, and he's getting beaten over the head with bottles by two other guys. And I can remember I had to tell my brother, because my brother wanted to keep the bar and keep it open. And I was like, Jim, come out here and look at this. Look at these guys. They're beating this guy over the head with a bottle. We ain't built to run this place. We're two little chubby guys that grew up with silver spoons in our mouth. We really didn't, but anyway, we weren't built for that. Only my father, because my father carried a .38 everywhere he went, and he wasn't afraid to pull the trigger, and not that he had to, but everybody just knew, like, my father he wasn't somebody you'd mess with. And I'm just like, what we come out here and we see guy getting beat over the head, and all we can think to do is shut this door and lock it up and get to our car and get the hell out of there. But yeah, my dad with the afro in the middle, one of the best looking men in the history of Indianapolis. Great ladies, man. I hate to even show that picture because there's a bunch of old women in Indianapolis that are probably moist right now. I'm sorry for saying that, but that's a... That's my dad. That's my brother on the right. That's me on the left. And that, I don't think, that was us at Jimmy's J Bar J. Put that picture back up. My dad, before he owned the Masterpiece Lounge, owned Jimmy's J Bar J. That's us at Jimmy's J Bar J. And you notice how me and my brother are dressed very casually. You never found my father not dressed incredibly sharp, afro intact. Anyway, Skap, I have one more topic for you. I want to play LeBron James. He had some interesting comments about the style of play that was played in the 80s and 90s, and I want your reaction to it. Let's play LeBron James.
The talk around sometimes, you know, some people aren't as happy with the way the game is. Like, we need to help teach fans, like, how great the game is now.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going back to that. Right. It's a lot of nostalgia. There's other factors, but, like, the game is great, and we need to teach people how to appreciate it.
Yeah, we just need to. I think have an appreciation, and I think if our fans will really go back and watch some of those games, they will realize then maybe that's not something we would want to see on a night-to-night basis.
Agreed.
You know, because
why Steve Nash is teeing him up to denigrate the 80s and 90s is mind-blowing to me. But your reaction?
Yeah, Jason, you kind of just trickled into my take on that whole thing, and it is shame on you, Steve Nash. I mean, I would expect this kind of tone-deaf narcissism coming from LeBron James, whining about how his product and the players, namely himself, don't get enough respect today. But Steve Nash, bro, you should know better. You came into the league, actually, that I've seen that whole clip, and within that same conversation, Steve Nash is talking about one of the things that was most shocking to him when he got in the league was how physically strong Derek Harper was. That, you know, Harper would just put, because there was still hand checking back then, that would just put his one hand on Steve Nash's hip. And Nash said to myself, I don't think I can even move up and down the floor right now with this kind of style and with these men in this league. So instead of Nash talking up his era and really talking up his own level of ability and play, he's a two-time league MVP, playing in that more difficult era, instead, Jason, he's bending the knee and genuflecting, kissing the ring of the fake fraud king, LeBron James. To what end? I don't know what it is, Jason. But we've seen that to LeBron's people, his sycophantic little buddies, that they do get taken care of. Look no further than the previous host of that little Mind the Game, or whatever the hell his stupid podcast is called. I think it's Mind the Game. His last co-host, JJ Redick, well, he became the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers with no head coaching experience at any level, not even high school. And he just became the head coach this year of the most storied franchise in NBA history, arguably along with the Boston Celtics, of course. So maybe Steve Nash realizes, hey, look, I flamed out in my one shot with Brooklyn. Now I need to just go ahead and get on the Clutch Sports payroll and start genuflecting at the King's feet. But to the overall premise of this era being, you know, better to watch, Jason, there's nothing that is good about watching uncontested shots and layups. There's nothing good about watching people not competing on the defensive side of the ball. Nothing. So while, yes, the game previously might have been more physical, might have been slower, there might have been more isolation-centric plays, but at least those guys were grinding it out and competing on both sides of the floor. That is what's compelling to watch. That is what's fun to watch. Not this jogging up and down, shooting 53s a game crap that we've gotten the game into today. It's just, and that's why league-wide viewership is plummeting to all-time lows.
Skap, I'm gonna let you go, but I want to put on your mind, does the playoffs start this weekend?
The regular
or
season
is it
ends
next
on
week?
Sunday. The play-in is next week, and the playoffs begin the following weekend.
So when the playoffs start, or maybe it'll be during this downtime of play-in, playoffs, but I want to bring you on the show 2 or 3 consecutive days because I have this massive idea about how to fix the NBA. And I need someone to unpack it with. I sat around and thought, I was like, should I reach out to Bill Simmons? And you know, he got some more corporate money and you know, it's probably illegal for Bill Simmons to talk to me. But I thought about, like, this idea is so massive and so doable. And I think anybody that hears it, and it'll take some time to unpack. You know what you know what might be best, Skap, and I know you're married. What's the chances of you coming up to Nashville for 2 or 3 days? We'll fly you up, put you up in a hotel, and we do it in studio where we can talk for 2 or 3 days, because it will take, this idea is so big, and to unpack it and to have people push back against it, it'll take several days to do it. I got a studio in my home. I got a studio here. You won't have to stop putting out your own content. We can just tape it here in one of my studios. Is that a possibility?
I don't know how I say no to that, Jason.
Well, your wife, she can figure out how to say no. Trust me, that's what wives are for. But
I can answer. I think on both of our behalves. I'm down. I'm in for that. Just let me know what days, and I'll make it happen.
Are you kidding? I can't. What an amateur. How many years are you into your marriage?
Just freshly 2 years.
Say, what a rookie mistake. He just went on camera and said, no, I can make this decision without consulting my wife. And I know a lot of you married guys are sitting there going, holy cow, did this guy just screw up? Just because she might be all for it. But you just went on record to like, I don't need to consult with her. I got this. I'm the man of my house. And Skap, you're about to figure out, like, some guys run their houses and some guys run around the house. And you're about to be running around the house. But I'm going to follow up with you because we're going to, TJ and Hadley, get on the phone with Skap when we let him go, and let's work out. When play-ins start on Monday, you said, or Tuesday or something like that?
Tuesday is the first play-in, yeah. But it's like one game a night. I think I think they spread them out, so it's pretty sparse.
Where are you at in Florida? Where are you at in Florida? Are there direct flights here to Nashville?
Yeah, I can get there.
You live somewhere in
right by Tampa.
Anyway, we'll get. Tampa. No, yeah.
Right by
Tampa. We'll get Tiffany. Yeah, she'll work out the flight. There's some direct flights from Tampa. I think I was just down there not too long. I can't remember what airline. I think it's maybe Southwest. But anyway, we're going to get you up here, put you up in a nice. Y'all don't have kids, right?
Nope.
So your wife could actually come. Maybe that's why you're talking so boldly, because your wife could actually come. She might like a visit to Nashville, Tennessee. But yeah, I want to just think it through. You'll hear from Hadley and/or Tiffany at some point today or tomorrow. And we're going to work that out because I know how to fix the NBA. And so first day you'll hear my idea and you'll have and then you'll think about it the next day, and we'll come back and talk about it again while mentioning, what's going on in the NBA. But I want basketball fans, I want to create a conversation about a real solution to the NBA. And I'm sitting on a monster. I really kind of hate to give it away, but I know how much the NBA hates me, and Adam Silver and those guys hate me. That they're going to steal this idea, and without ever giving me any credit. I kind of don't care because I just love to see the NBA fixed, because that was my first love, the NBA. And so I've come up with the solution. Me and Skap will spend a few days unpacking it, talking about the NBA. We'll do that next week. Thank you, Skap. I'm going to let you go. I got to get to Shemeka Michelle. I've changed up my mind about I want Shemeka Michelle because she's got a little conversation we can talk about as it relates to LeBron James. Put a bow at the end of this show. So stick with us. Don't go anywhere. Before I get to Shemeka Michelle, listen up. You need to check out Frontier Magazine. It's by Blaze Media. Issue number 2 is here, and it's even bigger and bolder than the first one. This isn't just a magazine. It's a movement about truth and stories that matter. You can't buy Frontier in stores or online. The only way to get it is through Blaze Unlimited, which also offers exclusive events, dedicated support, members-only content, and more. Act right now. The first 500 subscribers will receive both issue 1 and issue 2. Head to blazeunlimited.com/fearless. Use the promo code BLAZE500 for $40 off your subscription. Don't miss it. Get it right now. Shemeka Michelle, X.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. There's something bad going on with American men. It's been obvious for a while. It's measurable in a million different ways, but it's also right in front of your face. We have a massive problem with American men, and very few people have even bothered to notice, much less take it seriously. One of them is my friend Jason Whitlock in Nashville, who I've known for a long time and really love. He's decent and smart and totally fearless. And for that reason, I'm joining him on Friday, May 2nd in Nashville for the Roll Call 3.0 conference. And I literally can't wait to do it. I'm flying down just for that, and I'm excited for it because I think this really matters, and I think Jason is wise on the subject. So I'm there to talk, but also to learn, and I hope to see you there.
Join us at Fearless Roll Call 3.0. Real men, real conversations, real purpose. Tickets at fearlessrollcall.com.
All right, welcome back. Shemeka, I got a topic for you that connects to LeBron James, who Skap and I just talked about. LeBron James is a Kenbassador. He's a Barbie doll of some sort, and it was big news. And everybody says he's the first athlete to get him a Barbie doll or a Ken doll. Anyway, LeBron put out a statement. As a young kid, I was fortunate to have role models who not only inspired me, but also showed me what's possible through hard work and dedication. Now, as an adult, I understand how vital it is for young people to have positive figures to look up to. That's why partnering with Barbie to release the LeBron James Kenbassador doll is such an honor. It's an opportunity to recognize the powerful impact of role models who instill confidence, inspire dreams, and show kids that they too can achieve greatness. Shemeka, is that what this Barbie doll is going to do? Will you be getting it for nieces, nephews, grandkids, whatever to inspire them? The LeBron James Barbie doll, your thoughts?
For $75, I will not be buying that for anyone. That is a collector's item price, and I don't collect Barbie dolls. I think for LeBron, though, this is great, you know, because Ken has always played second fiddle to Barbie, and that's just what he's done to Michael Jordan or even Kobe Bryant. So I think this is great for him. I'm just glad they gave him hair on this Barbie. I was wondering if it was going to be bald in the middle. I wasn't exactly sure. But I like the doll, actually. I think the doll looks good. You know, my first black Barbie didn't smile. I always tell people she didn't smile. She had like this serious look on her face, like she was angry. And I cut her hair in like a salt and pepper, short on one side, long on the other. And then the ball in her neck got loose because I had her for so long that she did this automatically. So when I would bounce her over, when that Ken came in the house, it was like she was saying, "Ken, where you been?" Because she just already looked angry. So I'm just happy that they actually did him right. And this Ken doll looks, you know, still masculine to me and pleasant. because my first Barbie, she was my first black Barbie was angry.
So, is a Barbie doll as an ambassador or as a role model for young black kids, is that a good thing? Is LeBron James the perfect role model for young black kids?
I think he's a decent role model for young black kids, and that depends on whether or not he was actually at those Diddy parties. I mean, because that's gonna muddy up everything if he was there and he said ain't no party like a Diddy party. So, you know, that could mess it all up. I do like the fact, of course, I've said this before, that he has a wife and kids, and his kids seem to be doing well. I have to give LeBron props for that. For any other thing, I'm just not a fan of his. I am a Michael Jordan era girl. So I'm not a fan of any other thing. I don't like the way he flops all over the court. He whines a lot, in my opinion. He's always complaining. I don't like any of that. But I do love the fact that he has a wife and kids. And so I do applaud him for that. And we haven't heard of his name being all over the place and, you know, doing other things. He's kept it on the low. So I love that. But I don't think this is as a big deal as they're making it. Like, you know, I had a Marie Osmond doll, and I don't even think I liked Marie. It was just a doll. When little girls are playing Barbies, it's their own imagination, in my opinion. So I feel like the actual person gets lost. Like, they had an MC Hammer doll. I don't think anybody cared. The doll becomes what you make it. So this LeBron doll will probably, you know, be a house husband. Who knows? Nobody cares. And so it's always funny to me when it's, oh, we hate white people. Oh, wait, a white person wants to celebrate us. Mattel is doing a doll. Oh, great. Now it's great. It's wonderful. It's always funny to me, but I don't think anybody cares, you know, for real. It's not that big of a deal.
I think that if LeBron's brand were as strong as it was supposed to be, they would have done some doll through Nike and some LeBron James action figure through Nike and through LeBron James's version of Nike shoes. But because his brand isn't that strong, he's partnered with Barbie and Mattel, and he's trying to somewhat leech off their audience and their brand. And because he can't get there, he's so polarized his own brand that he needs to partner with Barbie. And it sounds like I'm being hyper negative towards LeBron, but I'm just telling you the facts. That the Jordan brand is so strong, he didn't need to partner with Mattel to do some doll. If he wanted to do some doll and put it out there, he would build his own brand around that, and Michael Jordan's values and his excellence and his and people, black, white, brown, whatever, would buy that Michael Jordan brand. But LeBron James, with his brand, doesn't reach as much of the majority audience as he could if he had chosen the Michael Jordan lane and said, you know what? I don't know nothing about no politics. I'm going to stay out of it. I'm a basketball player. But he's been out here trying, and MLK Ultra, as I said earlier in the show, been out here doing too much, and he's limited his brand, and he now needs to partner with some white woman doll in order to enhance himself.
You know, I think LeBron should have done, first of all, I do think this doll looks better than I've seen some of the Michael Jordan action figures. I felt like they could have done better. But I think LeBron or any other man should want to do a G.I. Joe. Because we all know G.I. Joe was Barbie's original man. Until they started making G.I. Joe real little, they came in with this little passive Ken doll. So, you know, if any man wants to actually be represented, he should choose to be a G.I. Joe ambassador instead of Kenbassador, whatever this foolishness is, because G.I. Joe was the man, and he was actually Barbie's first man before they watered down and neutered Ken.
Not an option when you're a spokesman for China to align yourself with a military action figure. Not an option for LeBron. You know, LeBron could be Antifa Joe or BLM Joe, but G.I. Joe, not open, not a lane he can hop into. Shemeka, thank you so much. Sorry it took me so long to get there. I got kind of carried away with myself earlier in the show. It was a little bit better than I thought. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll play tomorrow, and we will see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be, I wanna be, I wanna be, I wanna be, I